Welcome to Trucking Life. In this video, we're going to talk to you all new drivers on what you guys need to look for to keep yourself safe and profitable out there on the road. Tips and tricks that I've learned over 18 years, so stick around and find out.
Share, and subscribe.
Okay, so one of the first things I want to show you guys is the budgie flat hands, right? So we all put flat hands on, right? A lot of times these flat hands, this part becomes wore out, especially if you do a lot of drop and hook. So they'll tend to like be moving in the road or whatever. So one thing you can do to correct that is you can get, maybe some vice grips and tighten this down so that it gets tight against it, so it's nice and tight. That's a little bit of a harder way, but usually what I'll do is whenever I get these trailers that this part is a little bit wore out to where you'll be getting wobbling while you're moving, so the last thing you want to do is let this thing pop completely off and it locks your brakes up and then you got some problems, right? Is what I'll do is I'll just put a zip tie, put a nice thick zip tie around here so it keeps it nice and tight, and that just gives you that little extra security. Another common mistake I see is whenever you're going to drop your trailer and you drop your landing gear, so right here you're lowering it down, which right now in my case I already have it down, right? A lot of drivers will just walk back up here and then just disconnect and leave, right? But what you want to do is put your eyeballs on that other one and make sure that other one goes down, because I've seen it before in the past where this tube right here, okay, one of those bolts will become broken or the actual pipe itself breaks. So when you're getting this, when you're lowering down your landing gear, it'll lower down this side, but you might not notice that other side over there didn't go down. So just always visually check to make sure that you're good to go. One of the most common overlooked problem, guys, is your tires, Make sure that there's no nails to them, that they're still pretty good or whatever. Make sure you check the tire pressures. Most experienced drivers, guys, are gonna do this. They hit them out and they kind of just listen to it. But at the end of the day, guys, you're never going to beat a gauge. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not going to tell you guys that I check my tires with the gauge every day. I mainly do it kind of by sound just because I've been doing it for a long time. But at least once or twice a week, I'll hit it with the gauge. So this one sounds pretty good, but let's actually see what the gauge says. So right now we're at 106 PSI. They're normally supposed to be at 110, but because it's cool, it's gonna go down a little bit. But the moral of the story, guys, is you're never gonna beat the gauge. So if you're unsure, check it with your gauge. When you're gonna disconnect from your trailer, make sure your kingpin is, your level is pulled, and make sure that that's released. And if you wanna go ahead and verify, you could just look right there and you'll see that it's opened right there. So just always make sure you guys are putting your eyeballs on them and don't assume that it's done. All right, guys, and then whenever you're gonna get out, make sure you lower down your airbags. That'll give a chance for those feet to set on the ground, and then it'll allow you to clear everything good and make sure that those landing gears are actually working, that they're actually going to hold the weight of the trailer. So what I'm doing right now is I'm dropping my airbags down, as you guys can see. And when you pull out, don't just slam it on out. You know what I mean? Like, you want to make sure that those feet are working. I've seen it so many times before, guys, to where guys are just in a hurry and they just get out of it right away. And then they end up dropping the trailer, and that's not fun. Like, even an empty trailer is pretty heavy. So we're gonna pull forward a little bit. See right there, it already dropped off. You just slowly pull out Like right there, we're off the kingpin completely. So then you go ahead and pull on out. Another common thing that I see a lot of drivers not do, especially when they're new, is you want to make sure that these hubcaps or these bearings inside here actually have oil. I know you guys can't see it on camera, but it'll have a minimum and maximum level. You know what I mean? You could just remove it and check it yourself. You guys can see there's oil in there, and just make sure that there's oil in here, because the problem with the front ones, guys, is it's very, very little oil. I think it only uses maybe like half a quart. I'm not sure exactly how much oil it is. Usually when I change it out, I just throw it in there until it says, you know, right between minimum and maximum. But if you lose a wheel seal on that one, it's not like your rear ends. On your rear ends, you have a lot more oil. You got, you know, 2.5 gallons, 3 gallons in your rear ends. Up here in the front, you only have that, you know, half a quart or whatever it is, you know what I mean? So if you lose that, not only can you seize the bearing up, but like it could get so hot where this tire can just come out with the drum and everything, and that'll cause an accident, you know? Another thing that it could be a fire hazard, because that oil gets around all your brakes. So when you're braking, you know, everybody knows that when you're braking, it creates heat. So that's one thing that a lot of people miss, especially when they're new, is check your hub oil. Now back here in the truck, guys, what you want to do is you want to check this area right here, you know, in between your drum and your drum brakes and everything, to make sure that there's no oil. It'll be very, very apparent when one of these is leaking. The best way to check those wheel seals is to actually get under there and look in between your pad, and with the flashlight, so you can actually see the seal. But a very, very big telltale sign will automatically be that all this stuff will be covered in oil. And now you know that you have a wheel seal here in the back. Again, these hold a lot more oil, so you can kind of get to places a little bit better. Like if you need to like go an extra 30, 40 miles or whatever to get it fixed or whatever. But those front ones over there, like I said, is a very small amount of oil, and you know, they can cause a big problem. But you know, every post trip and every pre-trip, I always do this. I'll go around all of them and I'll just check them. I'll check all of them, make sure nothing's leaking. Like I said, it's very, very apparent when they start leaking that way. The area that you want to check is you want to make sure your brakes are good. You want to make sure that there's pad on it right there. You know what I mean? A lot of these people just don't check the brakes, and then it's a problem, you know? Brakes! I don't know if this has happened to you, but it's happened to me so many times, guys. So that's why this video is about, so we can share a little bit of tips and tricks so that this won't happen to you, okay? So I got my truck keys right here. Sorry guys, I had them on the floor. Got my truck keys, right? So here's my truck keys. Cowboys, even though they're kind of sucking right now, but you know, I've been a Cowboy fan forever. So we have our keys, right? It's so easy to get off the truck and forget your keys. So what I usually do is I keep a secondary set of keys. I clip them on my belt, and I never take them off. When I wake up in the morning, I clip them on my belt. While I'm rolling, I have them clipped on. Like, they're always on my person at all times. And those other keys are on the truck, right? And the reason why I do that is because it's so easy to forget, guys. You know, you're doing 10 million things at once sometimes. You're cleaning your windows. You might be putting fuel. You're going in and out of the truck or whatever. It's really easy to forget those keys, even if you have them like on your cup holder or whatever. You know, you might lock yourself out, you know, and that's going to cost you time and money. So that's usually what I do is I keep a set of keys at my person at all time. Even while I'm rolling, they're on me. So like that way, you know, it's happened to me many times before where I have that habit. I guess it's already in my brain, you know what I'm saying? So when I get off the truck, I automatically lock the door. But I don't have to worry about that because I got my secondary set of keys. Now I also have a little magnetic box. You all have seen them before. And I have another set of keys hidden somewhere in the truck. Make sure you kind of hide them in a good space. You know, I have mine particularly in its space where I'm not going to mention, but it's a nightmare to get there to it. And that's the main reason why I have it there. It's because it's a pain in the ass to do it. But you don't want to make it easy for somebody to be able to do it. But again, that all comes down to the next part. I have a truck to open the key, but I don't have a key to open up that one. So just little tricks that you guys can use to stay safe out here and keep your equipment safe. You know, you guys, we live out here. These trucks, they're our house. You got your computers in here. You know, you may have your Xbox for any of you guys that are gamers, or your TV, or your food. I mean, not necessarily because they steal, you know, they don't steal the truck means that they won't steal something else in your truck. So that's just another little thing I have for you guys. Pay attention to your gauges. You know, a lot of times when we're rolling down the road, we're so focused on what's going on the road, which is good. You know, every now and then, turn left, turn right, you know, look at your mirrors. You know, I use those mirrors quite a bit. You know, most trucks have them. But pay attention to your gauges, you know. I mean, besides paying attention to your speed, obviously, because you don't want to get a ticket or whatever, right? Also pay attention to these other gauges as well, you know, your check engine lights. But there's two gauges that I want you guys to focus on the most. Number one is your air pressure. Okay, like right now, truck's been sitting for a while, and I was using my little air gun or whatever, so it uses your secondary tank. You know, this right here, guys, can cause like your safety, you know what I mean? Like if your air pressure gets low, you know, everybody knows your brakes work on air pressure. So monitor these gauges. If you see that they're constantly going down, you know what I mean? Then that means that you may have a leak. You'll also be able to hear them. You'll be able to hear what's going on right there and everything. So, you know, like put your ear, you know, on use, and if it starts leaking or whatever, then now you know you have a problem. But you always want to make sure you have air pressure. You know, your oil pressure gauge, you know, that one gets, you know, quite missed quite a bit. You know, like my particular truck, when it's running, it'll be pretty much right at 50 psi. When you're rolling down the road, that oil pressure gauge drops. You know, you might want to stop before you have an issue. You know, that oil pressure, if it drops, you know, you can cause severe damage, you know. And I'm mainly speaking to new company drivers that are new drivers. You know, I mean, yeah, guys, I get it that maybe you guys are not responsible for the repair or whatever, but at the end of the day, if the truck goes down or whatever, then you might be down a truck. Depends on the company you're with. If you're with a big company or with a small company, you know, I mean, you might not have to pay for the repair, but that can severely cause engine damage and stuff like that. And when you have to pay for it, for those of you who are owner operators, it might be a new owner operator, you know, it sucks. That's a lot of money. One of the things that I always do, this air cuff rice right here, I mean, yes, can somebody come here and break, I mean, it's just plastic. Can somebody come here and break it off? Absolutely. Every single time I get off the truck, it don't matter if I'm going to the restroom, if I'm going to get a cup, you know, a bag of chips, you know, some whatever, some tea, it don't matter. I always put this thing on, you know, give you that little extra defense, you know, just in case somebody wants to steal your truck, you know. I mean, it's not really hard to steal one of these trucks, to open up the locks and to be able to fire it up and everything, you know. So just any little thing that you can do to make yourself a little bit safer, then do it, you know what I mean? So like I always put that air cuff lock on every time I'm off the truck. It doesn't matter if I'm gonna be off 2 minutes, 3 minutes. Again, can they break it off? Yes, but you know, a thief is gonna look for the easiest one. You know, one that's unlocked, running, and they get in and go. You know what I mean? So that's just a little advice that I give you guys, is I use that air cuff on a daily basis. Anytime I'm off the truck, I always have that on. So this is another thing you guys want to pay attention to, drivers. When you guys are backing up, you want to make sure that your fifth wheel plate is actually touching it. For demonstration purposes, I actually have my airbags down. But in this particular case, sometimes you walk into a shipper or receiver when you're gonna hook up to a trailer, and sometimes the previous truck that was hauling this had this a lot higher. So you wanna make sure that it's all the way in there. So let me go ahead and raise my airbags up. What ends up happening is if you continue to go, you'll jump it, and then it's going to be a pain in the ass. So in other words, your pin is going to be on this side of the truck, and it's just going to be a pain in the butt. So as you guys can see there, the plate, let me get you guys closer, is now seated in there. just like that. So what happened is sometimes when you got your kingpin, right, in this area right here, there's a gap, you'll jump it and your pin will be over here, and to get off underneath it, it's a pain in the butt. So whenever you're gonna hook up, before you hook up, get it as close as you can, and you wanna make sure that your plate is all the way up in there. Now, another very, very important thing, once you hook up to your trailer there, you wanna go ahead and go in reverse and tug it. Give it a good tug back, right? And then you give it a good tug forward. And that's just to make sure that your kingpin is engaged. Then you set your brake. Now this next little tip that I got for you guys is actually a very good tip. I've only experienced that maybe like about 2-3 times or whatever. But I'm very vigilant about checking this. So, you know, we got all different types of drivers out there, and some of them are cool and some of them are just assholes. So a lot of times, like when you pull up on your fuel island, or maybe when you stay somewhere, you know, overnight or whatever, a lot of people will have that bad habit of pulling your kingpin. So in the morning, if you don't get off and check to make sure that thing is still secure, you're gonna pull out and that trailer's gonna slam onto the ground. I mean, if you're loaded, it's gonna slam on pretty hard, and it's a pain in the ass too. It's personally never happened to me, thankfully, as far as it slamming down. But I've seen other people where it happens to them, and to crank that bad boy back up, it's a pain in the ass. So basically what you do is you push in your tractor brake. So you release your brakes, right? And what you want to do is you want to go, in my particular case, I would go to first gear, or if you're in an automatic transmission, go to driver. You're going to leave your trailer brake set. So in other words, this one is out, yellow button in. And what you're going to do is you're going to drive forward a little bit, right? So that you can put tension on your kingpin. And while you're like pushing, in my case, it would be just letting the clutch go a little bit. While the trucker's pulling forward, you set your brakes. Or if you're in an automatic transmission, you put drive a little bit, just so it starts putting tension on it. And then you set your brake. And what that will basically do for you, since you have your trailer brakes set and you're pushing forward on the truss, as you're pushing forward and you set the brakes, it's going to put tension on that kingpin right there. In other words, it's going to be pulling forward. It's going to be like you're trying to pull it apart while still staying connected. So you're going to have so much pressure on there. I don't give a shit how strong you are. You can get the world's strongest man. You ain't going to pull that. Like, it's going to be super, super hard to pull that. So basically what that does is it just protects you. It protects you from somebody coming in there and pulling it. So, I can't think of any more things on top of my head, guys. You know, as I think of them, I'll make videos or whatever. But I wanted to make this video specifically more for new drivers that are out there. You know, it's one of those things that when you're new, there's just so many things that you're learning at the same time. And it's, it's things that I wish that people would have told me when I started driving, and so I wanted to just share a little bit of my 18 years of driving experience with any of you new drivers out there. Just, to keep you guys safe and, learn something new. But this particular one that I just showed you guys right now, I use it all the time. It's just like, it's engraved in my brain. You know what I'm saying? When I pull over, pop my brakes, I leave my trailer brake set, push in my yellow button, put pressure on that kingpin. And like I said, it don't matter how strong you are, you ain't pulling it. Like you could you would have to put like an extreme amount of force to be able to pull that pin, because it's just under tension. You know what I mean? But anyhow, guys, that's what I got for you guys today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hopefully you guys are still watching the video. If you guys like this video, give me a thumbs up, consider subscribing, share the video, and we'll catch you guys on the next one. Peace out and stay safe.